Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast. Join your hosts, Mike the Podfather and Jersey Ed, as they address the real issues in health and wellness for first responders. From physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance, we leave no stone unturned. Answering the Call, the First Responder podcast is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the call.
Hey everybody, welcome to Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles.
And I'm Jersey Ed.
And we're here together.
Yeah.
Together again.
Back in the studio, guys.
Back in the studio.
Feels like it's been forever.
Sweet studio.
Yeah. It was only been a couple weeks, I think.
I mean,
a couple
sure.
weeks.
Yeah, a couple.
A couple
like
weeks.
20.
Yeah, 20,000
It's
weeks.
been a while.
Yeah.
It's been nice, though.
It's
Sweets and I have, we've kind of got cozy without you. And,
That's right.
Yeah.
It's nice having you back. But,
Absolutely. Guys, real quick, I want to tell you who's going to be on the show today. Diane M. She's a nurse in recovery. Nurses, I consider them on the front line, the first responders.
Yeah.
you're not the only one. We all do.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's going to be on the show. I just want to give you a quick quick update why we're bantering here and you guys forget. Or don't turn the show off. Stay on to hear her interview.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we all know that you tune in to hear Jersey Ed and the Podfather.
Oh, yeah,
right?
sure.
I mean,
of course. That's right.
That's where you get all the all your news for the week and your updates, and that's where you stay informed about all the things
Everything you
happening.
need to know.
Yeah.
That's right. Right here on Answering the Call, guys.
In under 5 minutes, right? Give you everything you need to know.
From wake up to night.
That's right. Or you're going to turn it off in the first 5 minutes.
Right, yeah.
But no, guys, it's great to be back in the studio. I missed you guys, and
We missed you.
yeah, I know, and sitting in that garage, and it's just.
You mean living in the garage? That place must smell.
I know,
Just been living in there, doing podcasts,
Showering
smoking cigars. Yeah. Little bird baths in the slop sink you got in the corner.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, go back a couple shows and you'll see my
the
garage.
bike hanging in the back.
Yeah, that bike. Yeah,
A Beatles poster.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was fun. It was something different. I think
we
all
made it
learned,
work.
Yeah, we all learned something in this pandemic, right?
Yep.
I think what's important for us as collectively is like we've been doing this for for quite a while now for Answering the Call. And, of course, we have the other podcast we do, Friends in Recovery. But what's really important is that we make it work no matter what.
Yeah.
Inclement weather, epidemic is going on. We've all figured out how to do it. We're fortunate enough, Sweets, would let me come down here and we'd work from the studio, and you were in your little studio. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we made it work.
Yeah, we did. And
I did it from up in the balcony so that we
up to the
socially
balcony.
distanced.
That's right.
Yep.
Like the Phantom of the Opera.
That's right. The balcony.
With his cape and his patch, eye patch. The eye patch freaked me out. I got to tell you.
We made it work.
He had a smoke machine in here and everything.
That's
It was
right.
very creepy.
I want to just commend all the first responders out there with all this shit going on.
Right.
Oops, sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that.
All that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff
yeah.
going on, and
Right.
I just want to say thank you guys for everything that you do and everything that's out there.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I just want to mention the local Boston, one of the local Boston newspapers, the Boston Herald, had a great article the other day. When I say great, what I mean is very informative and very scary. It was talking about police suicide, and they just had a monument dedication. 23 officers from the Boston PD over the years have committed suicide.
Wow.
And the title was May There Never Be Another. And then they give out some statistics which are staggering. More police officers nationwide have taken their own lives than they have been shot by bad people.
Yes.
Which is really horrible. And as a retired policeman who's had friends who've committed suicide with a gun, with many different ways, variable ways, I just feel it's real important. I had a roommate that was a cop, Chris Finnegan, put a plastic bag over his head, went to sleep, never woke up. Yeah, we were young. We were in our early 30s when that happened.
God.
Late 20s. But if you know anybody that's struggling with depression or have thoughts of suicides, most importantly, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. You can call or text the Samaritans, which are wonderful people. Their crisis helpline is 877-870-4673. And Boston police officers can reach for peer support. They have a unit 24 hours. Their helpline is 617-594-9494. 9091. And I just wanted to put that out there, not to
That's
start
good
the
information.
show
really.
off on a morbid step, but all first responders have a very difficult job. But more importantly and more prevalent and more in the news are cops being spit on, kicked, shoved, beaten, shot, murdered. And, this is going on. They don't get the headlines that other people do get, but they should be getting it. And if you're going to have professional athletes with Black Lives Matters and names of victims on their shirts, you can't forget the cops that are being shot by bad guys.
I agree.
And Blue Lives Matter. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, like I said on the show, we have Diane M, and she is waiting in the wings. So, speaking of first responders, let's bring her on.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, Di, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Hello, Diane. Nice to see you.
Thanks, Ed.
How you doing today?
Oh, like I said, like I talked to you before, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah.
I'm still a little shy about telling my story. However, I did go to a meeting before this interview, my home group.
Good.
Which is Good Morning Avalon, meets every day at 7:30. And somebody said that his story was his most precious asset, and that by telling his story, he could help another alcoholic. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, I was meant to hear that because, my story is precious. It's my story. It's my journey. And it's continuing. It's still evolving.
Daily it evolves, absolutely. And Di, when I say, and when we're on the meetings, and when I love coming to your meeting. I love when you chair the meeting. I try to get there as much as I can, but you really do have good recovery. And I know sometimes in early recovery it's hard to see that and hard to understand. Where am I going? Because the directions are all over the place. Your mind is in 10 different things. And I got some time under my belt, and I still feel the same way. So, but we're human beings. That's the other thing we have to remember of. But you do have a compelling story, and I know your journey started at Genesis House. Is that correct? Your brand new journey, your new life.
Yeah.
And do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe how you got there, a little about your story, and
Well, do you want me to tell my story, like my whole story?
Oh, you can break it up a little bit. Well, let's start with what kind of what was your life like? Give us a little bit of how it was, and kind of what you kind of to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let me just start with my nursing career, because so I graduated nursing school in 1983, and I'm from New Jersey, born and raised in Cape May County. However, when I took my nursing boards, I always had this dream of going to Florida and working in Florida, and so that's what I did. I took my boards down in Florida. My very first job was as a trauma nurse in Fort Myers. And I did that for a few years down there, and then moved back to this area. And my whole career basically was emergency nursing or critical care. The bulk of it was emergency nursing up until this year. I was a nurse, and I just recently retired.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I think, as being an ER nurse and ICU nurse, we see a lot of stuff, a lot of hard stuff, a lot of kids dying, a lot of trauma. And I believe that all that trauma, had an effect on me and was stored in my body and in my brain. And I think as nurses, we're, especially as an ER nurse, you're supposed to be tough, and you don't let that stuff bother you, and you just carry on. And whenever there was like some horrible tragedy, I noticed that the police officers and the firefighters, they had like debriefings, but we were just expected to, okay, carry on to the next thing. And like I said, I think that had an effect on my addiction.
Absolutely.
And so the way I dealt with that most of the time was to drink. And I think a lot of ER nurses we worked hard and we played hard. And after our shift was done, we went out and we partied, and that's how I dealt with it. And I think a lot of my coworkers.
Di, you make a good point in Podfather. You guys do get debriefings. I know I work with you and Jeff and a lot of different other first responders, and there's always a debriefing after a death or a bad car accident. And she does have a point, Father, that nurses do not get that. And I know you brought plenty of people into the ER, and you had to hand them over to them. And what's your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, it was nice. Very nice hearing you, Diane. Nice to meet you. I was a street cop for 28 years, actually 35 years, but 28 in a cruiser, early nights, 4 to 12. Hundreds of times into the ER for a variety of issues, including myself. I had broken bones and stitches, and I've had some pretty tough times in the ER as a patient. But you're right. We do. I'm on a SISM team. I was on a SISM team. PTSD. Jeffrey Mitchell was a firefighter from Pittsburgh. He started back in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. The PTSD debriefings and defusings. So you're right. But we have a nurse who used to run ours. Her name was Susan LaValle up in Massachusetts, Lowell, Massachusetts. She was an ER nurse who ran our PTSD team, And I just think it's interesting what you're saying, because I can relate to it so much, because you see stuff that people have no idea. No idea. You'd have to be there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And in these past couple of years, they are offering that for nurses now. And I think they realize that, how important it is. But I don't want to use that as, as to why I drank or used drugs. But I think that was a main factor. And the year before I went into treatment, I had 2 kids that died. One from meningitis, and then the other one was from the flu, actually. But I think, like that last year, having those 2 deaths, and they were both under my care, that, I think that tipped me over, if you want to say that.
Look, Di, trauma is like filling a bucket of water. It keeps dripping in. And this is something very common I hear all the time amongst, especially first responders. And I throw you in that category of first responders. You're right there with Mike and all the other first responders, 100%. But there is always something that's going to spill that bucket over, and this might have been your spillover,
Yeah.
And then I guess you kind of went into more drug use and more drinking. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, also too, I want to mention that I had some childhood trauma. In my early teens, I had some trauma, which I also repressed. We didn't talk about stuff like that back in the day. It wasn't out so much in the open. And I'm referring to sexual trauma. And I found that also to be a common theme with a lot of my peeps in recovery, as you want, if you want to say. You can only stuff things down for so long. I also want to share, I did start using drugs and alcohol in my teens. Kind of ebbed and flowed when I became a nurse. I stopped for a while, and then I had a daughter, and I didn't drink or drug when I was raising her. But I did, during that time, I suffered from depression. And I mean serious depression, where I was hospitalized numerous times. I had shock treatments, was on heavy duty medications. And I think that had an effect on my daughter. So even though I wasn't drinking, I had a mental health issue. And I think they're also related.
100%.
Because when I look back on my life, which is one of the things you do when you're in recovery,
yeah, you do.
The times that I wasn't using, I was depressed. So, my whole life there was something going on. And that's what recovery is about, I think, is the discovery. It's a period of discovery. And it's kind of like I've heard it referred to as you can have a wound and you can slap a Band-Aid on it and nobody will know.
Yeah.
You know, you have this nice Band-Aid, this dressing, and everything looks good. But under the surface of that, it's festering.
Absolutely.
You know, there's like, you know, decay going on, there's death going on. And, you know, pus, ugly stuff is going on under that nice, pretty white dressing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, that's what recovery is. You're taking that pretty Band-Aid off. Yeah, I'm fine. Everything's good. And you're getting to the source of that infection or that disease. And you're treating it finally.
Exactly. Hey, Di, real quick, we're going to take a quick break here. And after the break, I'd like to speak a little bit more about your recovery and a little bit more about your nursing.
Hey, we'll be back. Answering the Call, the First Responders Podcast.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Answering the Call, the First Responders Podcast. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles.
And I'm Jersey Ed.
And producer extraordinaire. Say a few words.
I prefer to be introduced. I prefer to...
I'm sorry.
Try it again.
Try it again. Let's start this whole show over.
I'm just playing. Yeah.
God.
Here he is.
No, he's not, but we'll let it go. So our guest today is Diane M. She is a first responder, a nurse. I do call first responders. She is part of that first responder world, and she's also part of our alumni at Genesis House. She's in recovery, and she's doing wonderful. Di, welcome back to the show. And I know we were talking a little bit about trauma and your nursing career and all that, and how it kind of brought you to where you're at. I want to know a little bit about like how you got into recovery, how you found Genesis House, and you know, if you want to say the R word, you can. If you don't have to. So it's up to you. And the R word, yes.
The R word.
Going up a ramp, down a ramp.
Which is, that word. Ooh, yeah, no. Okay, so I guess it was almost 4.5 years ago. I was working as an ER nurse, and I worked 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I was definitely using alcohol to unwind after my shift. I would drink until I could fall asleep. And I actually, one night, I took care of a woman who I went to high school with, who in high school I had always envied her. She was, popular, cheerleader, and she was an alcoholic and emaciated and very sick. And anyway, it was very shocking to see her. And when I got home and was drinking, and I realized that's me. That's me. I'm like her. And the next morning when I woke up, I just felt horrible, and I knew that I had a problem. And I called somebody, a dear friend who's been in recovery a long time, and I said, I need help. I think I'm an alcoholic. And she got me to a meeting. And what's funny about that meeting is she sent somebody to meet me there because she couldn't be there. And so this woman found me because, of course, I was in the corner crying. And she said, "You look familiar. Do I know you?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." And she goes, "You are our ER nurse."
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, And she goes, no, you helped me, and now I'm going to help you. And that was like my first AA meeting. But I had a few false starts. So my sobriety date is November 11th, 2018.
That's my son's birthday. That's a great day.
How about that? So at that point, I had started using painkillers. I had an issue with my foot, and I started taking Vicodin for that. And I liked the way it made me feel. It helped not only my physical pain, but my emotional pain. And anyway, long story short, I ended up going to Genesis House. And this was after an overdose, to tell you the truth. And my friend, and it wasn't to commit suicide. It was just, I took too much. And I had a friend who's also in recovery and also a nurse. And she said, if I didn't report myself, she would. And so that's how I ended up in Genesis House. It really wasn't voluntarily. And I also reported myself to the Board of Nursing, which they use an organization called RAMP for short, Recovery and Monitoring Program of New Jersey.
Which, by the way, Di, is a wonderful program. I know everybody kind of gets down on them but I hear on meeting after meeting after meeting, I'm grateful for RAMP. I'm grateful for RAMP because it keeps people in place. It keeps people, the nurses. It keeps you guys coming, and some people need that structure. And I know we joke around about it, but it is a really, really good program. And listen, they connected you with us. We wouldn't have been, we would have been friends. So and wouldn't have this great recovery that. So anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up down in Florida at Genesis House, and with the feeling of, how did I end up here? Like what happened? Bewildered, and just people that have gone to rehab know that feeling. Just
yes, we do.
So I had a great therapist,
Natasha,
and,
right?
And it's what I liked about Genesis House was that it was the people genuinely cared. All the techs there, the therapists, from the top down, it wasn't about the money. Right. You could tell that they genuinely cared. The people that have been there, have been employed there, have been there for a long time. So that tells you something too. And even just in talking to them, they're happy to be there.
Go ahead. You're doing good. You're doing good. No. So go ahead.
I was there for 5 weeks, and I taught me some good habits. Where I learned how to journal in the morning, describe how I was feeling, how I'm feeling, and set a goal for myself for the day, and to list things that I'm grateful for. And I still continue that habit today. I'll write down how I'm feeling, and to journal, which was something I never liked doing before, but it does help. And what I also liked about Genesis House is that I could get a massage once a week. And I forgot to mention earlier, I'm a massage therapist.
A wonderful massage therapist too.
I've been I've been practicing 16 years now. And I also like the yoga there, because for me, like I'm all about body, mind, spirit, and that maybe I can't intellectually describe how I'm feeling or realize how I'm feeling, but through the power of touch or movement, that's how I get grounded and how I can. And one of the things as a massage therapist is we joke and say your issues are in your tissues, and that sometimes by massaging a certain part, it stirs an emotion up for a person, or people hold their stress or their trauma, their feelings in a certain area, and that through massage
Di, let me ask you this. Well, thank you for the great accolades about Genesis House. I mean, we're here to talk about, and thank you so much. But anyways, you're very successful in your nursing career. You obviously had a 16-year career with massage therapy. Did you ever think that you would want to go maybe into the first responders massage? Because what she's just saying, Podfather, just kind of clicked something like, your issues are in your tissues, and you guys hold so much in. The first responders hold so much in that it might be a good kind of career move or a good niche that you can come up with, and not on top of the niche is you're helping people out, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Well, what Diane's saying, I'm relating to everything she's saying, but I'm a clinical social worker, and I work with a lot of people in the medical field. They up here in Massachusetts, they when they have a problem, they have to go see a therapist as well. So I have clients that have to use a breathalyzer several times a day. I have and they're professionals and they're recovering, and that has helped them. I believe those programs were designed to give everyone a second chance. In my profession, in '86, when I went and got help, I had to divulge why I was getting help, and they wanted to fire me. I had done nothing illegal other than taking an illegal substance, but I didn't get caught doing it. It was my own, my own confession and getting help. But my point is, it's good to have these programs because they give you sometimes a second chance, a first chance and a second chance. But the bottom line is, if with somebody pushing you and watching you and monitoring you, because we're sneaky, our disease is sneaky, and it makes us sneaky. And I just feel that it's really good to have somebody like a big brother over your shoulder, because it does yield results and good results.
Yeah. Di, real quick, we're running out of time here, but any words of wisdom from the nursing standpoint of view? And again, I consider nurses a first responder, right up there with the police and everybody else. And recovery point, sum up your whole career in 30 seconds if you can.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah, well, as you know, I retired from nursing, and I'm strictly doing massage now. And the reason, I don't know, I think follow your heart, do what makes you happy, and be authentic. Like, that's what I've learned throughout this whole thing, is that I need to speak my truth, and I need to do what makes me happy, and I need to be authentic. And since I've been doing that, life has never been better, So, I guess I can't really sum it up for nurses, but I just know that by being authentic and doing what makes me happy, and being sober, not trying to cover up my feelings with a substance.
That's the way to do it.
You've been a great guest, Diane. I got to say, you've given a lot of insight to emergency room nursing, and it just brought back so many memories. I've known so many nurses that have had substance abuse issues, but they're lifesavers, and they're wonderful people. And I think those type of jobs definitely lead us down a road sometimes that we take the wrong turn, but we get back on. And I just want to mention the picture over your left shoulder. I love it. I don't know where that is, where you got it or whatever, but that's a great photo. That looks
beautiful. There you go.
It's in Atlantic County. It's just a little marsh area.
Right. I have a pond near my house where there are swans, and they come yearly. They mate for life. I know a lot about swans, and my oldest daughter drives by that, and she'll say, the swans are doing this or the swans are doing that. So we've been watching them for a while.
Well, Diane, a nurse, a first responder, alumni of Genesis House, great recovery, wonderful human being. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You are a dear.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks. You've really helped me. Yeah. I called Ed this morning because I really didn't want to do this. Yeah.
You did a great job. This is a wonderful show. Yeah. Ed, he gets the best guest.
Listen, one more thing real quick is let's have fun, you know.
Amen.
Happy, joyous, and free, and that's what
Thanks,
you're
Di.
teaching me, Ed.
Thanks,
Like,
Di.
come on.
Well, Di, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for being on the show. You know, you have a great, fascinating story. First responder, recovery, nurse. Just an amazing story. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You know, and a good friend to me. And you know, I thank you for everything. And Podfather, what do you think? Great show, huh?
Like I always say, you always outdo yourself with these guests. Diane, you got $1 million smile. I'll tell you lit up a room, and you lit up this room, and I'll tell you, this is a pretty smoky, foggy,
it is.
desolate place.
Lots of smoking.
Lots of smoking, and yeah.
Sweet studio, and you made it sweeter. How's that?
Absolutely.
How's that, huh?
That's
That
good.
was good. That was
That's
good.
good.
Right off the top of my head.
There you go. That's why you're the Podfather.
sharp today.
That's why he's the
That's right.
Podfather.
Yeah,
But you know, the guys, the nurses are definitely somebody. Again, I know it's hard. I bring it up a lot, but the nurses are definitely a first responder. And like we were saying in the show earlier, Mike, how many times have you gone into a whatchamacallit, a hospital, and brought somebody in and just transferred them over to those nurses? And that thing about the PTSD and those and the nurses and the trauma nurses and the ER nurses not getting a
debriefing,
right?
or
I mean, how
diffusing.
crazy is
That
that?
was interesting to me.
Right.
That, you know, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people on the front line, you know, that are experiencing the trauma in different ways,
Yeah.
and like you don't even realize who's taking it home and how they're wearing it and how it weighs on them and how many drops they've already got in their bucket. That
Exactly.
You talked about,
Yeah.
You know that like, and you just don't think about.
Sure.
that.
You know, it was in my younger years. I worked in an area that had a hospital, in a very busy hospital, St. John's, which is now Lowell General. But we would always, not always, but monthly, bring in a couple of pizzas to the emergency room. Just drop them off, hot pizzas, and I'll tell you, it made a world of difference. Even the doctors would come out of hiding. You know. They were like the Wizard of Oz. You'd go into the emergency room. All you'd get were nurses. You'd get the charge nurse. You'd get the ER nurse. And, you know, they did all the work. The doctor would be somewhere, and they'd go get him, and he'd come attend to the patients.
Where do they hide?
I wonder,
right?
you know, I really do.
In the
They
doctor's
just come
cubbyhole.
popping in
Right.
for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm like,
They
where
push
were
a
you?
button, they
Right.
come out.
Where were
and
you?
boom.
Yeah, what are you doing?
But you know, that's an interesting thought that you just put up there. And you know, the doctors, the nurses prep everything. They see the blood, the gore,
do it all.
everything.
They do it all.
But they get all that together,
Yep.
and then they present it to the doctor
Correct.
in more of a
Presentable way.
fashion.
Right,
you know what I
right,
mean? And
sure.
and I've never thought about that. You know, I
Sure.
liked also what she talked about earlier was that that the trauma, just like we were saying, was building up, and it just kind of just it got to her eventually. You know what I mean?
And it happens. And you know, also when she was talking about that the program, the RAMP program she spoke of, you know, the acronym for, I forget what it was, but, you know, I think those programs are lifesavers.
Oh, yeah.
And now, like the Boston Police and other police, Lowell Police, we were very innovative. We had our own EAP from the 80s on, and that's because we had great leaders.
Yeah.
You know, we had great leaders up, you know, all through my career until the end of my career.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad to see,
important.
Podfather, that the way everything's going, that you guys are getting more recognition, more help. I mean, years ago there was no help. Even when you got sober, there was no help out there. There was no program.
There really wasn't.
Like this,
No,
you know
Eddie
what I mean?
Donovan was the Boston cop who started the first program in Boston, and Eddie was a recovering alcoholic, and you know, we're lucky to have it. And that was in the mid '80s, and you know, I don't regret 1 second of my career because I know I saved lives. I know I made mistakes too, but I did a lot more good than not.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
But meeting someone like Eddie Donovan in the very beginning, being part of that, meeting Jeffrey Mitchell, a fireman out of Pittsburgh, who put together the PTS, you know, programs for firemen, because firemen, again, they're going through scenes where there's dead bodies and you know, but I think it's so good, and that you give so many accolades, Eddie, to the nurses, because people do forget they are first responders. You know, and more so, especially with this pandemic going on with the COVID. I mean, they're right there. They can't run away. You know, I live next to a nurse. She's the sweetest girl. She has 2 dogs. She walks them every day, and she's just amazing. She says, "I wear 2 masks. I wear gowns. I wear all. I don't know how she does it. I wear a mask for 20 minutes, and I'm edgy."
Yeah,
you know?
I know. Guys, real quick, if you want to, I forgot to give out our phone number and our email address. If you'd like to email us on any of these topics, or if you have any questions, whatever, it's help@friendsofrecoverypodcast.com. You can get a hold of us, or you can call us on our hotline at 617-379-1163. Leave us a message, and that's the Podfather's old Old badge number, right? 163.
163.
So, yeah. Well, Podfather, another great show.
Great show.
Yeah,
you always do
Sweets.
it, and you know.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
good
and I'm
having
glad
you-
to be back in the studio.
Yep, it's good
great.
having you back.
Yeah.
You know,
I know Sweets is
I'm ambivalent. You know.
Couple more shows.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Guys,
vote on
that
it.
means he loves me, guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna vote on it.
Absolutely. So, Podfather,
Well,
you want to
hey, answering the call, the First Responders podcast, and
stay safe, everybody.
thank you.
That concludes this episode of Answering the Call, the First Responder Podcast. Thanks to Genesis House for sponsoring the show and supporting first responders who are struggling with addiction and mental health. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com.